Good morning. I'd like to welcome all those joining us this morning in the Commission Chamber. This is the weekly meeting of the Weber County Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. I'm Commissioner Gage Farr. I'll be conducting this morning. With me to my right is Commissioner Jim Harvey. To my left, Commissioner Sharon Bolos. We're going to start the meeting this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Duncan Olson, invocation by Mr. Scott Park, and I will give the thought of the day. We'll go to that point.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are very grateful at this time for the chance that we have now to meet together to go over various matters of this county. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this land in which we live, for the freedoms that we enjoy, for the peace and safety that we've enjoyed as a community at large. We are grateful, Heavenly Father, to acknowledge that there are many places in this world that do not enjoy such peace and safety, where those citizens are not able to express their opinions and participate in their government. We are grateful for this form of government that we have. We are grateful for the people that make up this county and this community and for their willingness to work together. We pray, Heavenly Father, for thy Spirit to be with us this day, as always, as we go throughout the matters of this county, that we may be wise in those things which we do. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Commissioners, I don't know, it's probably before your time, but there was a TV show that in the old days we used to watch. It was called
Recording
2020.
in progress.
It was a news show. I think it still exists, but there was a gentleman on that show that always was kind of the ending speaker by the name of Andy Rooney. I don't know if that rings a bell with you.
That's 60 Minutes, isn't it?
Was it 60 Minutes?
I think so.
Well, all right, 60 Minutes or 2020. Whichever one. It was Andy Rooney. And he always ended the show with some good thoughts, and I came up with some of those thoughts that I thought kind of applied in today's world that we should all maybe pay a little attention to as we live our daily lives and work with other people. And so I've kind of picked out my top 10, if I might, and something for you to think about today. And what Andy said is what he's learned. We've all learned a lot in this as we live day to day. So what he says, I've learned that the best classroom in the world is at the feet of an elderly person. I've learned that when you're in love, it shows. I've learned that just one person saying to me, "You made my day," makes my day. I've learned that being kind is more important than being right. I think you've heard that before. Yeah. I've learned that you should never say no to a gift from a child. I've learned that I can always pray for someone when I don't have the strength to help him in some other way. I've learned that no matter how serious your life requires you to be, everyone needs a friend to act goofy with. Commissioner Harvey, that doesn't apply to you, but I've learned that we should be glad God doesn't give us everything we ask for. I've learned that to ignore the facts does not change the facts. I've learned that everyone you meet deserves to be greeted with a smile. And finally, I've learned that a smile is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. So those are my lessons that we've learned from Mr. Andy Rooney. I hope one of those or two hits home. I think they all apply to us. All right, with that, Commissioners, appreciate your indulgence on that. Let's go to public comments. Anyone in the chamber or online that would like to talk about any of the agenda items today, would ask you to now come forward. Relate those to the agenda items, and please keep your remarks 3 minutes or less. Now's your opportunity. Seeing no one coming forward. Oh, here we go. All right, we knew we had somebody. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Bob Barrett. I'm chairman of the Powder Mountain Water and Sewer Improvement District.
I'd like to thank the County Commission generally and the supporting staff for the ARPA grant that we understand is on to today's agenda. Our intention is to spend that for the benefit of the community. And if additional funds become available, we'll be able to find a way to spend those for the benefit of the community as well. Thank you.
Bob, thank you. Anyone else? And since Bob came forward, Commissioner Harvey, I believe you serve on that board. We do have that ARPA funding on the agenda. That's been a interesting year or so period as we look to the application of those funds in areas that we felt would benefit the public. I think we've come up with a viable solution, or at least a path forward for improving the infrastructure in the valley. And I appreciate Powder Mountain Water and Sewer. I appreciate Wolf Creek Water and Sewer and the efforts to do what's right, which is to protect the water resources in Ogden Valley and put infrastructure in place that can allow growth in proper areas. And I think we're headed that way. Obviously, we're not at the end of what's going to happen up there. But I think as we move forward with the good work of Powder Mountain Water and Sewer, Wolf Creek Water and Sewer, and some other people up there, we'll have a good outcome. So I appreciate you being here. Anyone else?
Reed Miller from North Ogden, Utah. Hey, I noticed that on the agenda is I think it's the vote on the property tax increase. And once again, I would like to I know that you're for the people. And if you're for the people, I feel that the people have already spoken once with regard to that Justice Center and the increase of taxes. I mean, that was something that, hey, why can't we build a new Justice Center? But the people gave their vote saying no. And so on this property tax, I think if we put it on the ballot, that the people would say the exact same thing. And so the question is, are you going to go along with the vote of the people, or are you going to go along with your own ideas about things, thinking that, hey, you know better than the people. You represent the people, and so I hope that you vote according to the people. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And again, I think we've heard that on a couple of different occasions. I just remind the people in here and listening online, there are really two separate votes. The one was a GO bond that would indebt the county, that we put that to the vote of the people. And obviously that didn't come back to support that, and we to support the bond, which that's the reason we put it on the ballot, to let the people decide. The tax increase, in my opinion, is a little bit different, quite a bit different. It has to do with the day-to-day operations, how we keep this county, how we keep the services that are so widely used, libraries, our other assets we have under the portfolio of Commissioner Jim Harvey, how we keep those in operation. So even though I appreciate your remarks, two separate issues, and I think as we look to that vote today, then we'll decide, this commission will decide where we go for the future of for this county and the services that we provide, everywhere from public safety to roads, snow plowing, et cetera. So thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? Shelley? Okay. Seeing no one else coming forward, commissioners, with your approval, I'll go to consent items then. So let's go to consent items F1 through 10 as on the agenda. Number 1, request for approval of warrants 9579 through 9643 and 48949 through 481086 and 316-318 in the amount of $1,771,535.27. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $356,447.39. And 3, summary of warrants and purchase orders. We'll go not to Ricky Hatch, but to Lynn. Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Commissioner. We had 14 purchase orders totaling $356,000. The largest of these, or 72%, or 257,000, went to the Golden Spike Event Center for gates and panels, a used tractor, and bucking chutes. 14%, or $49,000, to the library for emergency boiler repairs at the Pleasant Valley branch. 5%, or $19,000, to the conference center for equipment rental. We had 206 warrants totaling $1.8 million. The largest of these, 37%, or $662,000, went to the transfer station for disposal fees. 28%, or $491,000, were escrow releases for Powder Point and Meadow Haven. 9%, or $158,000, went to the Golden Spike Event Center for a new water truck. And 6%, or $111,000, went to road construction on 3300 South, which was a reimbursement to West Haven City with transportation tax funds.
Thank you, Lynn. Questions for Lynn?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lynn, for that. Let's now go to F4, request for approval of ACH payment to Zions Bank in the amount of $224,508.19. 5, request for approval of a facility rental agreement by and between Weber County and the Utah Department of Corrections. 6, request for approval of termination and release of Weber County's interest in a storm water easement. 9, request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Carl Mickelson. 8, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Select Health for the following 2024 Select Health plans: Value Traditional Plan, Med Traditional Plan, Value HDHP Plan, and Med HDHP Plan. 9, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Kerry Byington to hold the Harry Horse Show at the Golden Spike Event Center. And 10, request for approval of a subrecipient agreement by and between Weber County and Powder Mountain Water and Sewer Improvement District for a lagoon improvement project. Those are the consent items, Commissioners. I'd look for any comments, questions, or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve items F, 1 through including 10.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's go to our action items. Request for approval of a resolution, which would be 51-2023, setting the meeting schedule for the Weber County Commission during the 2024 calendar year. Mr. Chris Crockett.
Thank you, Commissioner. The Open and Public Meetings Act requires public bodies to announce their meeting schedule for the upcoming year and to post that for the public to read. We hold the party here every Tuesday at 10 a.m., and that's what, unless otherwise noticed. So that's what this resolution is for.
Okay, pretty plain and simple, every Tuesday at 10 a.m., unless modified. Okay. Commissioners, questions, comments? If not, a motion to be in order for 51-2023.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 51-2023 as presented by Mr. Crockett.
Second?
And we have a second. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote for Resolution 51-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Farour?
Aye, thank you. All right, let's go to action item 2, request for approval of the first reading of an ordinance amending fees at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Duncan Olson, you're up. Welcome, Duncan.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. So if you remember back during our budget hearings, we came to you pretty much pleading our case that we needed more money for utilities and a couple other things due to the rise in inflation. We went back, me and my team, we went back and we went through line by line through all of our rates. We took a hard look. We also calculated in current rates of our utilities, electrical, water, all the above, and have come up with new rates that are before you today for the first reading.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey, this is in your portfolio.
This is because, thank you, Mr. Chair, this is because a lot of it, too, is the Golden Spike does receive some form of subsidy, but now those monies, that subsidy is generated by tourism and transient room tax, rental car tax, a little bit of hotel tax, and so that that deficit that's run by the Golden Spike Event Center is paid for by tourism, not out of the general fund, not to be confused with Mr. Miller's comments later in the agenda. So this is a warranted increase, and with the 600 plus events that are going on out there, I think it's fair in as much as it helps keep up with the rising cost of running a 150-acre multi-building facility.
Okay. With that,
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve that first reading of that ordinance with the price increase of the Golden Spike.
Second.
okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to place a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thanks, Duncan. Let's go to your next agenda item, which is approval of contract by and between Weber County and the Utah Quarter Horse Racing Association to hold the UQHRA 2024 races at the Golden Spike Event Center. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is our yearly contract with the Quarter Horse Racing Association. We do sponsor them a little bit, mainly because of the care that they take in the racetrack, and so we discount some of that because they are the ones that are taking care of that racetrack.
So they actually put their own labor in.
Correct, and then they recognize us as a sponsor.
Got it. Commissioner Harvey, also in your portfolio.
That's a good business, and it brings in folks from all across the region. There is a little economic benefit as well to this, and so with that, I'll make a motion that we approve that contract as presented.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Duncan.
Thank you.
Let's go to our next agenda item, which is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Wadman Corporation for the construction of the new Children's Justice Center building. Mr. Rod Layton, welcome. You're up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just to clarify something before we start this, for the general public, I know you all understand this, but there's the Justice Center and there's the Children's Justice Center. Those are two separate things. My phone has rung off the hook about the Justice Center bond and everything else, so we are talking today about the Children's Justice Center. And as you well know, we've spent about the last 4 years working on this project to construct a new Children's Justice Center that will serve Weber and Morgan counties. A lot of work has gone into this, a great team of people, county employees, commissioners. You've been very involved. I appreciate that. And we finally got to the point where we put it out for contract, vetted a bunch of contractors. We had 17 that actually came forward and presented to us, and out of those 17, we ended up with Wadman Corporation to build the center. So today I'm just presenting the contract for your approval between Weber County and Wadman Corporation to get this project started. So we are about there.
Good to hear. Comments or questions for Mr. Layton? Commissioner Bolos?
Getting to this point has been a heavy lift, Rod, and I appreciate your efforts and raising the money for this, and I hope that you feel we've been supported. I think we've been supportive of you and your team. Just great work. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's been a team, I'll tell you that. I mean, from Ogden School District to county employees that have come together many, many times, and hundreds of hours to put this together. And so we're going to see a great center. It will be the best center in the state of Utah and probably the western United States. So we're going to do some great things there. So I appreciate your support.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Let's not forget every city participated in helping this come to fruition.
Every city council, every mayor, and I don't know if there's ever been a project like that, but every single one we presented to them, they all came forward, they all contributed money. We didn't have a single holdout. That was pretty awesome. So they're all involved in this,
Yeah.
including Morgan County.
Even Morgan County, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I think that just goes to show this is a facility that's very much needed, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yep.
Unfortunately, this is something that's required by the state and is needed by the community. And the existing facility, which I think we're all pretty familiar with, has just outlived its useful life, and it's time to, again, come into the time frame when we can actually help these people, these victims, children especially, and put them on the road to recovery. And I think this new facility will go a long ways toward that.
Well,
And again, this is not directed toward just one city, one area. This is pretty much across the county, if I'm not mistaken, Rod.
Yeah, all of our cases are up. We probably are about 900 cases we'll see this year. 10 years ago, we were about 500.
Yeah.
So that's why we outgrew our building, and there's just a different method of doing these cases, which requires a different building. The flow is a little bit different in how we conduct those interviews. So yeah, that was one thing that was very surprising, I guess, to all the cities when we presented, is how many cases come out of their cities, because they weren't expecting that number. And when they found out they had 120 cases out of their cities, they're like, we didn't know about that.
Yeah.
We don't tell people about that, but everybody's affected by it.
I agree. Rod, appreciate your efforts. This has been a long haul, and I'm glad to finally see the resolution. We've come up with funding from a lot of other sources, and
Yep.
at the end of the day, this was a good move forward for the county and basically all the community that supports this, and the treatment that they'll receive.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner. I agree.
All right, with that, commissioners, I would look for a motion to approve that contract for Wadman Corporation for the Children's Justice Center.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County and Wadman Corporation for the construction of the new Children's Justice Center building.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You're approved, Rod. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Appreciate your work again,
You betcha.
and your staff. All right, Commissioner, let's go to the request for approval of a resolution, which would be 52-2023, adopting the Weber County property tax increase for calendar year 2024. Mr. Scott Park, you're up. Welcome back. We were a little worried about you coming off that airplane, but
Oh, it was fun. Thank you, though, Commissioners. With your permission, I'd like to take this item and the next item together in one discussion. So it's this first one is approval of the tax increase, and then the second one is approval of the 2024 budget. So I'd like to just take those together.
great, let's do them both.
Okay. So as you know, we had a public hearing on the 28th to go over and receive feedback from the public on the proposed increase. Now, as you mentioned, Commissioner, this is separate. So this year, there were almost like two separate questions. One was, do we expand the scope of services that the county provides by creating a justice center, not a children's justice center, just a justice center? That question went out to a vote, and the people came back and said, no, we don't want to expand the services that the county are offering at the present time. The second question, which is the question that we have now, is do we continue to fund the county? Do we continue to provide the services that we're providing? Now, costs are going up for everybody. Everybody here feels it, and inflation has hit every single person in Weber County. And so that's really the question that we had in that public hearing. And so we received some feedback from there, and we acknowledge that there are, taxes are hard for everybody. Inflation has hit everybody hard, especially the citizens that pay the taxes and the county employees. Cost of materials and everything have gone up. So what we've done is we've gone back and we looked at the tentative budget, and we've made a couple of adjustments from the tentative budget to the final budget. The biggest, which is the county has decided to step out of the service of the Center of Excellence. It was services that we were providing to try to help intergenerational poverty. We do have a grant from the state of Utah. We will transfer that grant to our health department. They will continue to carry out that grant through the remainder of its term, and then at that point, they'll make the decision as to whether they apply for another grant or not. What that's going to do is free up about $460,000 of resources that the county was otherwise going to invest in that service that will help reduce costs and increases in costs as the county goes through. We also had to make a couple of other adjustments to our budget. We have added 4 temporary employees to help with flood control issues to try to make sure that we're prepared for stormwater and flood issues. So they're going to be working through the winter and into the spring months on the river to help make sure that that's clean and in a good shape. They're not permanent employees. They're just full-time, or not full-time, they're just part-time. So once their work is done in the spring, they'll be done. We won't be paying them anymore. We've also made just a couple of adjustments to advance some funds from the 2024 budget to the 2023 budget. So we're actually going to reduce the request we're asking in 2024 because we're going to ask to spend that money in 2023, which is the next action item after we get through discussing this. But that was to do some remodeling work at the health department building. And then going through there, we updated all of our payroll data just to make sure that we're budgeting as tightly as we can on that. So, for example, when we presented our data last time, it was based off of our August payroll. Since that time, we've had a few people leave, and then they've been replaced with lower waged employees, newer employees. And so what we've done is we've lowered our request for that, and we've also cut off, we don't have to ask for as much of a cost of living increase, or we don't have to ask for a performance bonus for these individuals. So we really tried to tighten down that payroll. And that's allowed us to trim about another $476,000 out of the budget. That said, Commissioners, we had a large tax increase back in 2016. It was 20+%. And at that time, we decided it's best for the county to make small, modest tax adjustments every 5 to 7 years than it is to wait and have these problems compound and then ask for a larger tax increase and then play catch-up, trying to catch up on all the deferred maintenance or things like that, things that we should have been doing but we couldn't do because we couldn't afford it. And so in discussing all this, although we were able to trim some money out of the budget, we feel that it is appropriate to keep the tax increase as is. So we may have been able to trim a little bit out of that, but what we don't want to do is put ourselves in a situation where 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, we have to come back and ask for more money. And so with that, Commissioners, going through the tentative budget, we propose to leave the tax increase at $3.9 million, so roughly 7.25% on an average household. And then if you have any specific questions on that, I'm happy. Otherwise, you have the final budget before you with those changes that I just talked from the tentative budget. We'd also ask that you approve the final budget for the 2024 calendar year.
Okay, questions or comments, Commissioners?
I'll make a brief comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments that were made earlier, especially by Mr. Miller. One of the things that we do our very best as a county commission is inform the public. We put out advertisements in late August that we would be having work sessions or budget sessions to go over each and every line item that consists in this county budget. Prior to that, we went to the employees. A lot of times, myself included, would say, hey, can't the county just absorb that or pick that up somewhere else in their budget? So we went to the employees and said, how can you help us with this budget? This is what we're trying to do. And as part of that is to protect the employee. And they came back with how much was that, Scott?
$2.4 million.
$2.4 million ongoing savings in our budget annually. So that helped a bunch. And so when we went across there, unfortunately, as we got into the budget hearings, I don't remember commissioners, hardly anybody ever showing up in person or online. As much as we put that out on our social media and other ways, we had very few show up and attend and get the in depth of the education that we dove into in long, just big days. And I appreciate Scott, you and Mr. Hatch, Stephanie, just the time, the countless hours of collecting all the data that was submitted by all the employees and just being as tight, as close as possible. So I think we usually do everything by numbers and make good, educated decisions based on fact. And this, to me, seems like, unfortunately, the least expensive way to properly manage the county as a corporation, and yet especially protect our most valuable asset, and that's our employees. And so that's important to me. Thank you.
Good point. Commissioner Bowles?
Yeah, just a couple of items. As Commissioner Harvey mentioned, we went through a long process of budget meetings, and at the end of the day, and I think one of our final conversations, we talked about the increase, and Scott said, if we weren't giving the employees raises, we wouldn't have to increase taxes. And that's really what it boils down to, and I think it's important for all of us to take care of what you said. Commissioner Harvey is our most important asset, and it's important to me. Those people work for the county day in and day out and take care of the needs of our residents, and it's important to me to take care of them. Now, we have had some savings, as you described, and so we had conversations about whether or not we could reduce the amount of the tax increase, and I think that the wise thing to do is is to leave it where it is. It's only a savings of a few cents for every resident, but it allows us to put money into our capital projects fund. And some of the comments I heard after the justice bond failed were, why hasn't the county been saving for this? Why are you coming to us now? And I think if we're prudent and we plan ahead and we continue to put money away in our capital projects fund, I'm not saying we're going to have a justice center next year. I'm not saying that. But it allows us to plan ahead for those big projects and maybe not have to go to the public for such large amounts when those things come our way. So I think, and honestly, I've been surprised at the support that I've had before and after our public hearing. I had conversations with people who appreciate the services they get from the county, and you don't always hear from those people in public meetings, but it's appreciated that people understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to take care of here in the county.
Thank you. Scott, remind me again what the average, we talk about the average home is required, property owner would pay with this proposed tax increase
I want to get the
on a
exact,
monthly basis or annual.
I want to flip right to it, just I want to make sure that I'm right. So we said it's $2.93 per month, so take that times 12, that'd be the average amount. So I don't do math in my head very well up in front of everybody, so a little less than $36.
Yeah, right around $35 to $36.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I would just echo what my fellow commissioners have said, that this budget process was not taken lightly. One of the comments and one of our visions that we've had since I started this position was that the taxpayer dollars are what keeps us in business as a county and allows us to provide those services. But it's also our obligation to make sure those services will continue. And in order to do that, unfortunately, we've seen inflation. We've seen that's out of our control. A lot of these factors have been out of our control. We've seen fellow or neighboring counties, the state, raise wages, and that in order to be competitive, basically we could either choose to lose those people or we could be competitive. And again, we're not trying to exceed what our neighbors to the north and south and the state are doing. We just want to make sure that we have the opportunity for those people to remain in Weber County. And I think with this increase, we've done that. So, unfortunately, nobody likes property tax increases. I'm one of those people. But it becomes time when, again, small increases, as you mentioned, are probably more appropriate. We have a county in our state that ignored that concept, that this year they're raising taxes 178% because of not raising taxes over a 15 or 20-year period of time. We don't want to get to that point. People can take small increases, they can budget for it, but huge increases are not appropriate. So with that, commissioners, does that conclude your presentation, Scott?
It does.
I would look for additional comments, questions, or motions on resolutions 52, 2023, and 53, 2023, as presented by Mr. Park.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 52-2023.
All right, we have a motion 52, 2023. Craig,
Second?
we have a second.
That's a resolution?
It's a resolution.
Roll call vote for Resolution 52-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Sheriff Rohr?
Aye, motion carries. I'd look for approval or a motion on 53, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 53-2023.
Second?
And we have a second. Roll call vote again.
Roll call vote for Resolution 53-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Sheriff Rohr?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's go to our public hearing now, which would be a request for a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene as a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss amendments to the operating and capital budget of Weber County for the 2023 calendar year. Scott, you're still up.
Thank you, Commissioners. So now we're shifting focus. We're not talking about the upcoming budget, but we're actually talking about the budget year that we're just about to finish. And so in this budget, Commissioners, every so often, we do our best at the beginning of the year to foresee everything that's going to happen, but things change, and so we just want to go over a couple of those proposed budget changes for the 2023 year that we're just finishing. First, we received a couple of additional grants at our health department, which total about $600,000, so that's going to be additional expenditures, but we have additional revenue to cover that, so there's no draw of taxpayer dollars on that. Then we also received we want to advance some funding from the 2024 budget. So this item was originally approved in the 2024 budget, tentative budget, and the contractor, this is for a remodel of our health department, the contractor was ready to go right away and said, hey, we can do it now, we can guarantee the prices now. If we wait a few months, the prices may go up. So what we're doing is we cut that money out of the 2024 budget, and we're asking to put it in the 2023 budget to get going on that project right away so that we can save a little bit of money on that. That's for our health department remodel. We did have a couple of additional expenditures at our crime scene investigations unit. We just had more salaries and wages, more overtime than what we had originally budgeted for, and unfortunately there's not much we can do on that. When the call comes in and the services need to be provided, we have to provide the services. So there's an increase for the crime scene investigations unit in there as well. Our transfer station is processing more waste than we had originally anticipated, and so we receive additional revenue to cover that, but we need about another $750,000 of expenditures approved so that we can pay for the disposal of that waste, but we're going to have more than $750,000 of revenue come in to cover that cost. So again, no draw of county taxpayer dollars. And then the final items that are on here is we do need to make some adjustments to our Culture Parks and Rec departments, our Golden Spike Center, Ice Sheet, Ogden Eccles Conference Center, and the Sporting Complex. Their costs have gone up. They do have some additional revenues to cover that, but their costs have gone up a little bit more than what we were able to absorb during the current year. So that's why Duncan was here proposing some increases for our fees for the following year, and we're looking at that at all of our Culture Parks and Rec facilities to make sure those ongoing expenses are covered by ongoing revenues. But as Commissioner Harvey pointed out, any shortfall from this will come from our tourism tax revenue, not from our general fund, and so those will be covered through that tourism revenues. And so with that, Commissioners, unless you have any questions, I'd propose these amendments to the 2023 operating and capital budgets for this quarter. Excuse me.
Thank you. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Questions for Mr. Park?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Scott.
Appreciate that. Let's now go to our public hearing for discussion and action on an ordinance and development agreement to rezone 7.44 acres from the A2 zone to the R3 and C1 zone, property located at 3300 South, 3500 West in Ogden, DMA 2023-07. Mr. Steve Burton.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Let me share my screen here. Commissioners, I believe you're pretty familiar with the project. We've had several work sessions with you on this. So my presentation isn't very long. It's pretty brief, but feel free to stop me if you have questions along the way. As was mentioned, a proposed rezone to amend the zoning on 7.44 acres. This is in the Western Weber planning area. It is at 3500 West and 3300 South, right there near West Haven City. Current zoning is A2, stands for agricultural. You can see it's kind of a vacant property now. There may be some agricultural buildings on it. On the right shows the proposed zoning to be C1, which stands for commercial, and R3, which is residential with the possibility of townhomes. Here's just another image showing you the project location. I think this is probably one of the more important slides here. Just last month, the Western Weber Planning Commission forwarded a unanimous recommendation, and I will read that for the record. They recommended approval of the proposed rezone from A2 to C1 and R3 without a master plan overlay zone. The recommendation is based on the following conditions. 1, the developer will enter into a mutually agreeable development agreement with the county specifying the design of the commercial and multifamily buildings, and that states the donation of $5,000 per dwelling to the Parks District will be made before each subdivision plat records. The development agreement will specify that plats need to be recorded in 3 years, and the project will need to be completed within 6 years. They based that recommendation on some findings. One of them, I think these are important. One, that it helps implement the mixed use and commercial elements of the Western Weber General Plan. And 2, it proposes a meaningful contribution to open space and parks improvements in the area. So we have prepared an ordinance that if you decide to approve the rezone today, that we'll have prepared to record. We've also prepared a development agreement. Now, I will say the development agreement has been prepared in accordance with the Planning Commission and planning staff recommendations, all except for one thing, which is the developer has proposed that they still want to make that donation of $5,000 per unit, but they're proposing to do that at a building permit level instead of before a subdivision plat records. Now, a few things to consider with that. One, that donation is significantly more than a lot of the donations we're seeing out west. I think it is more because, if I had to guess, I would say it's because there's townhomes in the area, and the Parks District thought that more should be paid per unit because there are townhomes. But another thing I'll point out is the developer is willing to do to reserve some of these units for moderate income housing. They've said that they will do 5% of the units that they build will be deed restricted for moderate income. And so I think those are pretty significant contributions. From a staff level, we prefer that donation is made before each subdivision records. I think it's more meaningful if the developer is actually making those payments, those donations, as opposed to a builder. We like to think of that donation as a contribution to the community as a result of developing this number of units and developing this property, which currently doesn't have any houses on it. However, we're going to leave that up to you as the legislative body to decide if you want those to be paid before the plat records or before building permits are done. Now, as staff, we can make it work with building permits. It's just one additional thing we have to track. But again, it may be worth it if because this developer is, in my opinion, kind of going above and beyond what most developers do by proposing that number per lot, and also by allowing moderate income, proposing that. The development agreement also locks in a concept plan. It also gives them 3 years to plat their lots and 6 years to start building them out. Just to give you an idea, that is generally the concept plan, which shows commercial right along the front, right along 3500 West and 3300 South, which I'll show you in a minute. The Western Weber General Plan calls for a mixed-use commercial development in this area, and generally mixed-use commercial means commercial and residential. The developers proposed these as general concept images. You see the commercial buildings will have wood facades to resemble some of the agricultural buildings, and they'll have similar roof pitches as well. One thing I want to point out in the discussions with the Planning Commission, West Haven City has been opposed to the project for a number of reasons. One of them was because they felt that it wasn't preserving proper right-of-way for one of their future streets as shown on this map, and it is. There isn't any buildings proposed right along this corner to allow for that curve to take place. As I mentioned, the Western Weber General Plan, the future land use map shows this as a possible mixed-use commercial project, which this is a mixed-use commercial project. I already talked about the open space contribution. I want to point out West Haven's general plan does call for this to be C2 as opposed to commercial, as opposed to mixed-use commercial with residences. I think another reason why they have been opposed. Just shows you this slide shows you the current status of the property. You can see it's been farmed. And here are some possible actions you could take today. You could approve the ordinance and development agreement. In your deliberation and discussion, I recommend that you just address when that donation should be made to Parks. If you feel it should be made at a subdivision level, we'll make sure to write that into the development agreement. But currently, as it's written, it says it'll be paid at a building before building permits are obtained. You could also deny the proposal. Again, if you feel it doesn't meet the general plan, or if you feel the timing's not right, those are valid reasons to deny the proposal. You could also table if you'd like to have further discussion. Staff recommendation is to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission and require the development agreement to have those donations, that $5,000 per lot donation made before subdivision records. But we're certainly not married to that idea. We're open to discussion. So happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Burton, for that. So a question for you on the $5,000 donation. Who sets those fees? It's obviously, that's substantially more than what other developers have contributed toward the Park District. Who sets those? And I know the Planning Commission at a point in time thought that that should be consistent, at least a couple of the members that have talked to me, that should be consistent rather than negotiated for every development. Do you have an opinion on that? Or?
Yeah, so anytime a rezone is submitted, we like to see the developer propose what we call an open space plan. Sometimes that open space might include a park on the actual property. A lot of times, developers understand where the county wants parks to be located as they're looking at our general plan. So they will say, well, for my parks plan, I will approach the Parks District and I will find out what they might be supportive of. So what this developer did is they went to the Parks District and they said, what number would I need to pay per lot for you to support my project to count as my open space plan, and taking it to the Planning Commission and the County Commission. And that number that they came back with in this case was 5,000. But you're right, there doesn't seem to be a consistent number, and I think that's okay because each project has different impacts on different areas. Some projects might be larger single-family lots, which might be less impactful than a bunch of townhomes. And so that specific number came from the Parks District and the developer, a conversation between those two.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that remark. Commissioners, comments, questions on this proposal? Okay, thank you very much for that, Steve. Anything else?
Nothing from me, thanks.
All right, let's go to our next agenda item for discussion or action on an ordinance to request to vacate the north side public utility easement within Lot 2 of the Garden of Eden subdivision, VAC 2023-05. Ms. Tammy Adelot. Tammy, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a request from the property owner located at 2138 North, 5700 East in Eden to vacate a side public utility easement that runs along their northern boundary. Applicant is looking to install an accessory structure. The width of this public utility easement is 10 feet, and the owner would like to install a structure within 5 feet of their lot boundary. So they have submitted an application and requested to vacate that. We haven't received any objections to that, and that's all I've got. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, so no objection from any of the utility companies?
No.
Great. Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
It does, yeah.
Questions, Commissioners? All right. Let's now go to our public comment section dealing with the 3 agenda items that were just discussed. Anyone in the public that would like to come forward, now's your opportunity to talk about one or all of those agenda items just presented by our staff. Please come forward. If you just give us your name and location, if you wouldn't mind.
My name is Artis Stitt, and I am at the Lot 2 of the Eden subdivision. I'm the one that is requesting the easement on the north side of our property. We did all the due diligence, asking all of the utility companies. They came back and even asked the water company if they would ever need any of that easement. In going through all of that, all of the electrical, all the utilities runs on either the west side, which is the front of our property, or on the south side of our property. There is an irrigation, and that also runs on the south side of our property. So with everybody that I've talked to and getting all of the in writing that they requested, nobody needs that easement now or in the future.
Great. Appreciate that. Thanks for your due diligence on that. Please come up.
Thank you for your time. My name is Dave Prevedel. I'm here, I'm speaking for 7 individuals who filed a protest with the Planning Commission on September 19th for the rezoning at 3300 South and 3500. Those people are myself, David Prevedel, Glenna Prevedel, Wayne Prevedel, Karen Prevedel, Angie Kellett, Wes Kellett, and Steve Prevedel. We form the preponderance of the agriculture interests surrounding this development. And this development will significantly change our way of life. We're being squoze with other single-family developments, but this proposal has 20,000 feet of future business and then 14 six-plex buildings for a total of 84 units. You know, if we consider that there's going to be, with young families coming into these type of things, maybe 4 people per residence, that's a population of about 336. Not a development, that's a new city. And so there's some real strong omissions in the proposal or the application that the proponent put out. We've been just squeezed. We've got the proponent himself has a 78 unit, another one on the Westwood property, just a quarter mile southeast of this. The new Highland subdivision is just being completed, has 25 units. And then there's another one over by Country Elementary School that is being developed. And so with the addition of this 84 units that this proponent, that means there's 222 new individual housing units all within 1/2 mile. We're just being squoze on this thing. The facilities are not as we envisioned or would like to live with. However, I want to concentrate on what I figure were 3 major omissions on the proponent's submission, and that I think Mr. Burton briefly mentioned on it was the new Hinckley Drive Highway. And I guess is it okay if I approach and just hand you some
Sure.
maps up here? I'm sorry I didn't get more copies of it. This is I've handed out copies of the Northern Utah Transportation Plan,
Right. Got it.
the Legacy Highway Plan, which includes its arterial feeders, and then also the initial draft from West Haven City on this new road as it comes through the property. Now, I might say that my own property is highly impacted by this road. I'm not for this road, but we've got to be realists that it's coming through maybe. And with what engineering experience I've had, it's going to impact the proposal property. In speaking to West Haven City, their engineer, the design on this was so complex because you got a 4-way stop sign with a lot of traffic on 3300 and 35. Now you're introducing a major arterial road coming into this kind of a 5-way intersection. They have a contract with a UDOT contractor because of the complexity of the design of this intersection. And that has, at least as I speak right now, it has not been finished. So it looks like somehow this property is going to be impacted, yet they have not allowed for it. A lot of unknowns on this thing. The second is the impact on school. I mentioned the population of this new unit. 1/4 mile to the north is Canesville Elementary School, one of the most crowded schools in Weber County. My granddaughter is in the 6th grade right now. They have six grades in that school. That's just unsurmountable when you think about it, all the kids. There has not been, I don't know how you compensate for throwing this many new kids into the school system. And then, since our protest and meeting with the Planning Commission in September, we've also found out that the proponents have not worked with West Haven City as far as as a sewage hookup. They are a kind of an enclave hooking into West Haven City. It's probably 100 yards to the West Haven sewer, but the proponents have not worked with West Haven, don't want to. They are proposing a 1-mile sewage line to, I believe, to the north, that's going to chew up a lot of county roads, a lot of properties to get the sewage to this place. 1 mile is a long sewage line, probably going to cost, was that another $1 million or something? And so this is an impact that hasn't been addressed on this thing. And so with these three things, deficiencies I just mentioned right here, we would like to recommend that this proposal be not approved, or at least tabled till some of these problems can come and be worked out. We don't like the change to our way of life. We have livestock. We know that's incompatible in a lot of instances. And so this is just not a good plan. It is not the time. We're realists. Sometime in the future, maybe. But right now, to put this island of townhomes, that many units, that cluster, it is just not time for that. We could live with some commercial, like a gas station or a convenience store on the corner, and change it to a commercial zoning. But the multi-unit designation this is just not the time for that.
Okay, Willie, sure appreciate those comments. Commissioner Bolos?
I think I'll wait till we take action on these.
Okay, great. Mr. Priverdale, thank you for being here.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate your comments. All right, let's go to our, okay, please come forward.
I'll be quick.
No problem.
Honorable Commissioners, Wade Budge here on behalf of the applicant for the
Okay,
rezone.
great, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We are pleased with the presentation that was made by Mr. Burton, and we endorse what was made by way of recommendation from the Planning Commission. Just by way of brief discussion on the item relative to the payment of the fee to the parks, our view is that it is more efficient to pay that at the time we're paying our building permits. We'll have here approximately 13 or 14 different buildings to accommodate these units. And so we wouldn't be paying it every time we pull a permit for a unit. We'd be paying it when we pull a permit for a building. And so what we've proposed in the draft development agreement is that rather than paying that fee at subdivision plat, we would pay it at the building permit. And it helps us because at that point, we're going to the bank, we're getting financing, and we can add this $5,000 per unit and have it efficiently packaged and paid with the entire permit package. So that's the reason we've made that request. And then relative to the comments that were made by the gentleman, Mr. Priverdale, we have understood the coming road, and we've accommodated that with how we were going to locate this particular set of units. And then furthermore, relative to sewer, we've got a will serve letter from the West Weber District, and so we have been working with the district about how we're going to have our project sewered. And then furthermore, as Mr. Burton accurately indicated, we've made the offer and have put into the development agreement our obligation to make sure we make available 5% of the units for moderate income, which we think is another benefit. So to sum up, we encourage the passage of this rezone request. It is consistent with the general plan. It's been endorsed by the Planning Commission. It will bring much needed housing to the community, and it will also provide housing for those who might be our workforce folks who are either providing services in the way of school teachers or first responders and others, because we're going to have moderate income housing opportunities as well that will be available. So happy to answer any questions, but thank you for your time and consideration.
Questions? Sure. Commissioner
Just have
Bolos.
one question. You mentioned a will serve letter from West Weber Sewer. Is that
Yeah.
West Haven Special Service District?
We've made application to West Haven's
Right.
district. They have yet to act on our application. And so we've gone to the regional sewer provider and
Central
obtained-
Weaver?
That's correct.
Okay,
And we have a written letter from them.
great, thank you.
Yep. And we're continuing to work with West Haven. We'll see where that ends up, but if not, we'll just only rely on West Weaver. Thank you.
Central Weaver.
Central Weaver, yes. I keep calling it West Weaver because it's out west.
That's
But
why I
yes, you're
wanted to
correct.
clarify
It's
that.
Central Weaver. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Okay, yeah, I think we understood that. Anything else, Commissioner? Commissioner Harvey, any questions?
Oh, wait.
Okay,
Thank
anything
you for
else?
your time.
Sir? Thank you for being here.
Thank you again.
We're still in public comments. Anyone that would like to come forward and speak up to any of the three, now is your opportunity. All right, Commissioners. Anyone online, Shelley, like to make a comment? All right, thanks to those that took the opportunity to speak for us. We appreciate always hearing from the public. With that, Commissioners, I would look for a motion to adjourn our public hearing, reconvene as a public meeting.
So move.
Second,
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We're now in a public meeting to take action on the items we just discussed in the public hearing. Let's start with H2, which is a request for approval of Resolution 54, 2023, amending the operating and capital budget of Weber County for the 2023 calendar year, as presented by Mr. Scott Park this morning.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we approve Resolution 54-2023 as presented.
Second,
All right, that's a roll call vote.
Roll call vote for Resolution 54-2023. Commissioner Bolos?
aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Sheriff Ford?
Aye. Thank you for that. Motion passes. Let's go to H3, request for approval of ordinance 2023-38 and a development agreement to rezone 7.44 acres from A2 zone to R3 and C1 zone, property located at 3300 South, 3500 West, as presented this morning by Mr. Steve Burton. Comments, questions?
Mr. Chair,
Or action.
question for Mr. Burton, if I may.
Steve, would you please come up?
Mr. Burton, the amount of $5,000, is that per unit? You mentioned something about 14 sixplex units, or within the discussion that we've had. Is that per unit? So would that be 5,000 times 6 times 14? Or is that $5,000 times 14 for every sixplex unit?
So the development agreement doesn't specifically say that they can have 84, but that number is per dwelling unit. So if you're,
Got it. I
they
got
could
it.
potentially have 84, so it would be 5,000 times 84, which I think is like $420,000.
Okay. That answers that. I also, Mr. Chair, on this too, Mr. Prevedel, I really appreciate your comments. I've known you and your family for going on 30 years, and you guys have always been wonderful contributors to the Western way of life in many different forms for a long time. And these items are incredibly difficult because I don't know who owned the property on that southeast corner where it's in question right now, but I don't know who decided not to farm anymore and who decided to sell. And so these questions come up, and for whatever reasons, and it makes it incredibly difficult. These are some of the things that the unintended consequences when the general plan was passed a couple of years ago, and where they talk about densities and where houses on large lots or large houses on small lots or large sixplexes, that's what all this was on 2 years ago. It's incredibly confusing, and it's hard to understand all these things, but this does represent a major artery, so these are super hard. Just speaking on that, though, too, I'd like to make a suggestion to this body. In as much as that we did receive, if this were to move forward, I'd like to see some skin in the game by the developer up front, and and maybe split that 2,000, 3,000. So 2,000 at the time. At the time when the development's recorded, and then the other 3,000 can go to the building permit. So that it's maybe a mixture of both. But I don't know, that's just a thought. Those are my thoughts. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Bolos, this is in kind of your neck of the woods out
It
there.
is, and I know a lot about it. So I have a few comments. First of all, I really appreciate the commitment by the developer to reserve 5% of the units for moderate income housing. West Haven is a very expensive place to buy a house, and even though in recent years we've increased some density in areas, it doesn't seem to be super affordable. So I appreciate that. What seems to be a high rate of contribution to the Park District is appreciated. When you look at townhomes and the lack of space they have to recreate, I think it's important that they pitch in and help provide parks for those residents. So, and I don't have an opinion either way on when those donations are made, so I could go with your recommendation. I'm fine with that. But I do want to address the things that Mr. Prevedel did. The Hinckley Drive extension, I was a big part of that planning and request from the county. The county has put in millions of dollars toward land acquisition and committed for money to build that road. And for a major road like that, which we called a boulevard when I was in office out there, boulevards aren't generally surrounded with commercial and then acre lots, which I know is in West Haven's general plan, commercial with acre lots. And it's just not as conducive to a major road. I don't see driveways pulling out onto a 5-lane road. So the plan for that road, and it's been flexible. As we planned it in the beginning, we didn't know which landowners would sell first, and so the actual location of the road has always been flexible. And thank you, Steve, for pointing out that that this is being accommodated in the plan. I think that's important. And the second item was Kingsville Elementary being overcrowded. Lucky for West Haven and the whole area, there's another elementary a mile to the west that will be opening in a couple years. And I think that the school district put a priority on that because they see the growth in the western part of the county. And so, and that brings us back to the density. The more dense the housing is around those elementaries, the less all of us are going to be paying in property taxes to the school district to bus those kids. And so that's an important piece. And the school district, during my time in West Haven, has expressed to the planning commissioners on numerous occasions that it's important to put density around elementary schools. Those are the ages of families that will have children going there. And the more who can live close by and not be bused, the better off we all are financially in supporting our school district. And then I appreciate Mr. Budge talking about the West Haven Special Service District. I know that the application was made. I know that they recently adopted a policy that their district would be confined to the city's boundaries. And so if you're not part of the city, now you can't be served by the district. And so I think that really affected this project, because in order to work with West Haven to get sewer, you would have to annex into West Haven and then provide acre lots out there by this major road. So it's kind of a catch-22, I guess, and I appreciate you reaching out to Central Weber to accommodate that. But you know, in any rezone, nothing moves forward unless you can flush your toilet and run your water. So if there's a holdup, then the project won't happen anyway. So there's not any worry there for me. I think that's all the notes that I took. That's it.
That's it? Commissioner Harvey, anything else?
No, I don't think so. As I sit and think about, I appreciate your explanation. It's important to note, too, that we did sit down with the mayor and acting city manager of West Haven on this particular project and try to get to some resolve. But for the overall general plan of Weber County, we've had a lot of discussions, exhausting discussions about general plans in the last 6 or 8 months in the whole Weber County, and following a general plan is important. I think as I get thinking a little more, though, because I hate to put more on the builder, so I think, if anything else, I'd probably, on that, if this were to be approved, I think I'd like to see maybe an even split, 2,500, 2,500 between developer and builder, and if they may be the same.
Between plat filing and recording, or building permit.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
And so I'd make a motion to that effect.
We have a motion?
That's just to clarify, 2023-38
Okay.
for
let's-
approval.
So your motion, just so we're clarify, would be that approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission, but modify the details on the $5,000 contribution that would be split, 2,500 paid at the time of plat recording and 2,500 paid at the time of building permit. And I'm assuming, I'm going to take the word that was presented by the agent representing the developer, that would not be on a single, they're going to apply those like in sixplexes, so 13 or 14 at a time. Is that correct? Is that your understanding, Mr. Burton? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
It would depend on how they chose to plat, according to Commissioner
Okay.
Harvey's motion. So it would depend on how many units they decided to plat in their first phase. Maybe they come in with all their units and they're going to have to pay at least half of that
All right.
donation for all of those units
Got it.
before the plat records. And then, yeah, when they come in for building permits, we can track that they're paying that other 2,500
Got it.
per sixplex or whatever. it
I
ends
realize
up being.
that's a little more accounting, but I think that would allow the park district, which we care a lot about, to function. Park districts are there to help maintain open space for these higher dense areas, and so that speaks in favor of what Mr. Privedel was talking about, and I want to do that, but I think that'd be the best way that'd be under the current general plan that we have out there, and that'd be probably the most fair and way to do that.
Okay, we did have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Before I place that motion, I just want to say appreciate, this is a tough one. You know, as we see this county grow, we see this on both the east side of the county and the west side. Unfortunately, growth is here to stay. And, you know, my family, we are very familiar with a lot of the Privedales. We understand the farmers out in that neck of the woods. I actually spent some part of my life out in that area. And we all appreciate the open space, the farms. But we're now at a crossroads in this state and county, as the governor has made very clear. We're at the crossroads. Do we have affordable housing for the future? Do we have the ability to have our kids and grandkids have the ability to have home ownership? And if we don't give them that opportunity, that ability, which is, again, home ownership has proven to be the one asset that families can rely on for the future, for their 401ks, as pensions have gone away, et cetera, that it gives that family wealth for the future rather than continue to rent. It gives them the opportunity to contribute to our community and society. So unfortunately, the affordable housing component, if we are going to have that opportunity, means we have to have more. It comes down to simple supply and demand. Without more, prices will never go down. Impacts will be felt by some more than others. We realize that. That's why this is a tough job up here, is we have to make the decision along with our staff where that best is, but it's driven by the free market. It's driven by the private market. That I don't believe government should have a stake in where it goes. We just have to decide if it's good for the general plan, if it's good for the future of this community. So, again, I appreciate that. With no further comments, I'm going to place the motion on ordinance 2023-38. Great.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-38. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Ford?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Let's go to H4, request for approval of ordinance 2023-39, and request to vacate the north side of a public utility easement within Lot 2 of the Garden Eden Garden of Eden subdivisions, VAC 2023-05, as presented by Ms. Tammy Adelot. Questions, comments? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-39.
Second with a comment.
Go ahead.
This is a classic example. I love it when people do their due diligence. Pam, thank you for doing that. It makes it a lot easier. I like it when people are able to do with their property that they want to do, and this is a classic example. It falls within the master plan that's up in that area, and I don't have any reservations in supporting what this homeowner wants to do with their property.
Okay.
Thank you. So
Is that a motion?
No, she made the motion, I seconded.
That's a second, okay. Got a motion and a second. No further discussion. I'll place the motion on 2023-39.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-39. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Four.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate those in attendance this morning. We'll now go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Bolos, none. Commissioner Harvey,
No, I don't have any.
none. Again, thank you for being here. We will meet one last time this year, which I believe is next Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, that's the 19th. And again, I appreciate all the people that took time out of their day to be here to have their thoughts heard. And
So, Mr. Chair, we will not be meeting on Tuesday, the 26th.
Tuesday, the 26th, it's off the agenda right now. I guess that could always change, but we're not planning on that now, Commissioner.
But we are planning on Tuesday, the 2nd of January.
We are planning on Tuesday, 2nd of January.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second?
Second.
We got a second. Non-debatable. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're adjourned.